Welcome to the Observe Day podcast, the show where we celebrate the days that matter. From holidays to meaningful observances, we bring you inspiring conversations, stories, and ideas to make each day count. Whether it's raising awareness, learning something new, or simply sparking joy, this is your space to explore the calendar in a whole new way. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I'm excited to share today's observance with you. Let's dive in. This Intelligent Automation Month, we are going beyond buzzwords to explore what really makes AI intelligent and what keeps it human. Our guest today, Yaakov Sash, is the founder and CEO of Kasu AI and the former head of digital assets markets technology at Credit Suisse. He has spent years designing high-trust systems at institutions like Merrill Lynch, UBS, and Deutsche Bank. Now, through Kasu AI, Yaakov is pioneering what he calls Vibecrafting, a process that turns human intent into structured, validated requirements before AI writes a single line of code. In this episode, we'll unpack how intelligent automation can finally become reliable, aligned, and deeply human-centric. Welcome to the podcast, Yaakov.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. You've worked inside some of the most demanding financial systems in the world. How has that shaped your view of trust and precision in automation?
That's a great question. So, um, ironically, even though banks are, you would consider them to be the most sophisticated places in the world, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, we're all human, right? We're all, people make mistakes. People, don't do what they're supposed to do. One thing that banks do a very good job on in general is that they have a lot of process around everything to make sure that, yeah, even if someone makes a mistake, but there'll be someone else to catch it. There'll be a process to catch it. So I learned, that is something I learned, very early on. In a bank, even if you're off by one penny, it's not $1 million. If you're off by one penny, it's a representative that there's something wrong, right? No one cares about that penny, but the fact that it's off shows you that there's something wrong in your system that you didn't account for. So there's a lot of, there's a constant demand for quality, and when something doesn't go right, to explain what went wrong.
Oh, there's a constant demand for quality, and when something doesn't go wrong, we need to explain what went wrong. While I was reading that the intro just now, I mentioned that you create a system to help people even before they start coding, right? And that's what I call vibe. What you call vibe? What you call vibe crafting? I have to be clear on that because I was about to say that's what I call. Then I asked, wait a minute, young man. uh, you know, and many things. Many people think that AI writes the code, right? You say that the real magic happens before the prompt. Can you unpack that? What's the magic you're referring to?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like the truth is vibe coding is a lot of fun, and you don't need to do any prep. Just like you give a kid, if you buy Legos for a kid and you give it to him, even without instructions, you could just put something together and just have fun with it. So vibe coding is the same thing. It's like, for people, like we all want to create different things. We all, use apps all day long. We all have a vision of, something that we would want to build as an app, as a system, to do something. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Vibe coding is actually a lot of fun. And I encourage everyone to try it. Like, don't be scared. Like, it's not going to bite you. You're not going to destroy anything. But it's very different for a business. Like when you're working for an enterprise, even if it's not a bank, right? Even a small company, right? It's very different because your vibe coding is more of you doing something for fun. When you want to build something for real, there's a certain level that you have to, a certain amount of thought you have to put into it. There's a certain amount of, scenarios, like what can go wrong, what can go right. But more importantly, what are the edge cases? What is different between your app and other apps that are similar to your app? Like if you're making an app for a business, you're investing money and time. You can't just, I'll just vibe code it and whatever happens, happens. It doesn't work that way, right? So you end up getting stuck. there's an expression of vibe coding from hell, because if you get stuck vibe coding, you don't start off the right way, and then at some point you just get stuck in this loop of trying to fix up these little stupid little bugs, and it just takes more and more time to get the little stuff done. Like, instead, at the beginning, you're shooting with both guns, you're blazing, you're going 60 miles an hour, you're going 100 miles an hour, you're really, getting things done. But at some point, because you didn't design a good architecture, you didn't design, you're making some changing how your model works or how your app is doing, all of a sudden everything starts to break down and it just becomes a mess. So that's really what we want to avoid, and why I encourage everyone, before you start, if you want to be serious about building an app with vibe coding, just spend a little bit of time vibe crafting. Craft, what is your vision? What do you want to build? And you can do it with AI too, right? You don't have to, do this with pen and paper. You can go into Claude Code and you can vibe craft. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the vibe coding tools, right, aren't really designed for the ones that are being pushed for consumers, like Lovable, for example. They don't really encourage you to think before you vibe code, but that's a mistake. You really should. And yeah, so you should brainstorm, use ChatGPT, use other tools that are more designed for it. If you're a developer, I encourage you to use something like a Claude Code, which is great for this. And really can like actually write your plans for you, and very, very detailed specs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're not a developer and you just want to be able to brainstorm, I definitely encourage you to use something like even a ChatGPT would be great to just plan out a little bit, like, what do you want to do before you vibe code it.
Oh, and we're talking about AI and it's handling part of the workflow. I'm curious, how can leaders ensure that the team stays aligned? There's, even though AI is handling part of the workflow, so that we're not having everybody going different paths completely.
As you pointed out, such an important point when you're dealing with the enterprise. Exactly, people forget that we're not lone wolves, right? It's not like everyone is sitting there. So you have a bank, so banks have 40, 50,000 people working for them, right?
Yeah.
There's experts in each different aspect, in compliance, in legal, and if you're building a trading system, right? If it's a payment system, there's experts in everything. There's regulations and everything. So you can't just vibe code because you don't know everything. And the AI doesn't know everything either, right? It knows a lot, and sometimes it knows a lot more than, people in terms of developers in specific fields. But when it comes down to it, if you're doing something that's cutting edge, the AI models are not going to always be the latest, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing something innovative, you're going to have to fight the AI to say, no, I want to do it like this because I'm ahead of the pack. And you're going to have to fight the AI on that. AIs like to do things the way that things have always been done, and they will tend to go in that direction. So, you have to fight, you have to put your vision into play. And in a company, right, you have to get your colleagues involved so they can bring their expertise. And so it's a shared vibe coding, right? It's not just, one person, but you can't vibe code, right, if you don't have a shared vision. And that's where you can do the vibe crafting, because that's just text. That's just, analysis, documents. That's much easier to get everybody into sync on that.
We're talking about AI, and part of the reasons why most people use AI is it's faster, right? In the push for speed, how can companies avoid sacrificing accuracy, text, and creative intent, especially There are certain industries where mistakes like this cost millions, even billions of dollars.
Well, yeah, mistakes have cost banks billions of dollars because they there was a big payment mess up that Citibank had that I believe cost them, if not billions, but definitely hundreds of millions of dollars because their payment system was too complex and a person was probably rushing to put the payment through and they put it through the wrong way. And yeah, it cost them a lot of money. So if companies are going to rush out to, divide code because they want speed, well, you have to compensate. You have to have better controls to make sure that what your AI is writing is going to be valid, right? So you can't just, it's a balance, right? You can't just say, oh, I'm going to have my developers vibe code. My code is faster, but then you have to have more controls to make sure that what's being written is actually correct. You also now have more time. So there's something called a unit test, which every developer knows.
Before we dive deeper, I'd love to invite you to join the Observe Day newsletter. Every week, I send you highlights of upcoming observances, creative ways to celebrate, and behind the scenes extras from the shows. It's the perfect way to stay inspired and never miss a meaningful moment. Sign up today at observeday.com/join. That is observeday.com/join. Now let's get back to the conversation.
It's very hard for developers to write. You're supposed to test everything. You're supposed to have built-in tests. So every piece of code you write has a test associated with it, right? And not just one test. It could have a dozen tests to test all different scenarios, right? So what basically happens is that the goal here is not just to write faster code or to write code faster, is to write better code that's more stable, code that's more tested, code that is less fragile, right? So we want to take this extra time and actually make better code with it.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, so it's not a question of we're saving time. Like question is like, oh, you save the time. What are you using that save time for now?
Exactly. What are you doing with it? Are you twiddling your thumbs? Are you on social media? TikTok. Like, are you doing more? Because AI is, it's like the analogy. Somebody has a spoon, right? And they can dig a tunnel with a spoon.
Yeah.
And somebody has a tractor. You can trigger,
Okay.
a tractor can come in and dig that tunnel a lot quicker. Now, if you're going to give the person with a spoon, okay, I'll give you a month to dig out this tunnel with a spoon, right? And
Yeah.
you're not going to give the tractor the same month, right? Because it's like you can do that in one day. So, but what can you do now? You have a tractor. Well, I can dig a lot more tunnels. You can I can make, instead of the, rail system, only being in one city, you can now extend it to multiple cities. So there's the possibility of what we can do with AI is more than what we can do, without AI, right? But the demand for what we need to do is also so much more now as well.
How does Kasu AI make automation more intelligent rather than just automated?
Exactly. That's a great question. So we're still building Caso. Want to be clear about that. But if anyone is interested and want to be a pilot customer, we do have some pilot customers right now who are using the Caso methodology, which is basically our approach to vibe coding. Because we don't have a platform yet, we're doing it manually, but we're still giving a lot of value for anyone who's interested. Definitely reach out to me. What Casa will do, the platform will do, is that it will allow developers and stakeholders to collaborate better with AI to write those specs. So to vibe craft. So it's like vibe coding, you're coding with AI, right? You're telling AI what you want, it's doing it. Well, where's the system that allows me to vibe craft with AI? I want to write my specs, right? So
Yeah.
it's the one step before the vibe coding, but it's the vibe crafting, but I want to be able to do that with AI. And in a way, this is a harder problem because in a way, my coding is easier. Now, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that the AI is going to get the coding right, but if it had the right specs, it can do the coding. The challenge here is that when the specs are not, when it's, ambiguous, when it's not clear, when it's, or the AI doesn't have a perfect understanding of what your vision is, it can build the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But from a logical standpoint, right? If you give the AI an algorithm and say, here is what I want you to code it. 99 times out of 100, it shouldn't have a problem with that. But vibe crafting is a lot more complex because we don't know what you want. Trying to craft, you may be crafting, a huge tower, right? Conceptually speaking, right? Or you may be
Yeah.
crafting a small little game, right? You may crafting a nuclear power plant. So the vibe crafting model has to be very dynamic in a way to understand the nuances of the complexities of what can go into a functional spec, in the sense of what can somebody want to build. So we are focusing right now on enterprises that have legacy systems.
Yeah.
So we're working with companies that have systems that are 10 years old, 20 years old, and there's tons and tons of technical debt. So technical debt is the debt that you have in the system when you know you have old technology, but you never have the time or the budget to upgrade because it's just so expensive, and it gets worse and worse and worse because the longer you wait, the more technical debt you have, and the
Yeah.
more effort it takes to get out of it. It's similar to credit card debt, right? When you have credit card debt, and yet those interests on your payments gets worse and worse, and every year goes by, it gets harder to dig yourself out of debt. Same
Yeah.
thing with old technology. When you have technical debt, every year your technology gets older and more unsecure and more dangerous, and it gets
Yeah.
harder to dig yourself out of it because you have more. There's always more technical debt.
Yeah. Well, as AI begins to handle more technical work, what new skills will define great developers and leaders?
Oh, wow. What a wonderful question. So, first of all, my prediction is that in 5 years, developers are not ready to code anymore
Oh.
because because AIs will just do a better job of it. There won't be a need. But counterintuitively, we will need more developers than ever because developers will now be responsible for doing bigger things. They will be reviewing and orchestrating and managing, not just, oh, let me write a little piece of code here, a little piece of code there, and then I'll write my little test class, and then take a week to do a few pieces of code effectively and test it and all that stuff, which unfortunately that's all it can take to do things, right? It just takes time. Now they'll be able to build whole modules, I'm not saying whole entire systems, but like entire, like new features, like from start to finish, like
Yeah.
fully, but they're gonna have to become AI orchestration experts. They're gonna have to become vibe crafting experts. They have to learn a whole new skill, right? It's not going to be just coding anymore. It's going to have to be like, how do I deliver, a working system to my customer,
Yeah.
to my client? It's going to
Yeah.
have to. So every developer is going to have to do a lot more and be responsible for a lot more.
Wow. Wow. And what advice would you give for startups entering the intelligent automation space without losing human creativity and ethics?
So first of all, I think don't be afraid of AI creativity. I think there's a bias. We feel that humans, you know, only humans can think original thoughts. and have original ideas. I don't think that's true anymore. I mean, not everyone agrees with me, and that's fine, but I believe that AI can think original thoughts because when you take a moment to think, like, what is an original thought? Original thought is when we take, different ideas and topics and put them together, for the first time. So there's no reason why AI can't do that. Right? AI can actually do that a lot faster, and it has so much of a larger context with it than our brains do. So I think that startups should embrace AI creativity, AI partnership. We are no longer going to be able to achieve in the next 20 years. The greatest achievement will be human plus AI together, working together.
Yeah.
AI may be doing 99% of the work. Humans may be doing 1% of the work. That 1% is still critical, right? At least for now. Like, we don't know about the future, but for now, that 1% is still critical. But we have to, steer and mold and validate what AI is doing, and make sure that we're still aligned, right? We don't want to wake up one day where we have a malicious AI
Yeah.
who is out to get us, right? We have to make sure the AI is aligned. But that said, I think that startups must embrace AI. If you're a startup, if you're not using AI for your coding, you should shut down. Like, you're not going to win. You're just might as well just give up, right? If you must be accelerating and doing more with AI if you want to be ahead of the competition.
Oh, and my last question would be, what's one manual process you would never automate, and why? Why?
That's a great question. What manual process would I never automate with AI? So, I think, like, reading a bedtime story to a child, something like that. Now, I'm not saying, you can't automate that. I'm not saying you have to do this every night, right? Because, listen, even before we had AI technology, I had books on tape, and I used to play them for my kids to go to bed. It was like, it was better than
Audible.
TV, but I think that there's still, you still want that,
It's a bonding time
that
for
bonding
father and
time.
child.
Yeah, if you can do it every night, it's wonderful, and then they still may want to listen to some more tapes, and that's fine, or you can have AI, but you still want to be part of that. You don't want to, let AI, raise your children, 100%, right? We're saying there's a balance there. We're not saying 0% either, because you have to be reasonable. We all are busy. We all, and the children can be very demanding. But you don't want to give it up completely. You don't want to, and it's no different if someone who's wealthy and they have a nanny doing 100% of raising their children. It's the same loss there. So it's not really an AI thing, but it's a good way to think about it, right? There's really nothing new with AI in the sense of, the way that you manage AI, in a way, is the same way you would manage a team of real humans, right? You would manage, you would have an AI, or sometimes you have, like, your teams could be, diverse. It could be from other countries, offshore, onshore. So your communication's important, and you would give, whether you're giving a developer, a human developer, or if you're giving an AI developer a task to do, you want to have some way to validate. Do they do it the right way? Do they understand what you want them to do? You have to check their work. There's no different with AI. When it comes down to it, that's really what it is. Now, a lot of junior developers are not experienced managing, other developers. So it's a learning, right? There's something to learn there, but it's nothing from conceptually, from an industry perspective. It's not as, different than just managing people.
Oh, thank you so much, Yaakov. Where can listeners learn more about the work you're doing and also connect with you?
Sure, just go to Kasu.ai online. There is a web sign up form there if you're interested in partnering with us. Definitely send us an email if you want to get on the wait list when we release Caso for early preview.
Yeah,
Definitely check it out, and I look forward to connecting with people that are interested in this new
yeah,
world.
yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you about intelligent automation, Yaakov.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, and to my listeners, I'll put the link mentioned in the description and the show notes so you can click and go directly to the site. That's it for today's episode of the Observe Day podcast. Thank you for spending your time with us as we explore today's observance. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with a friend who'd love to celebrate life's special days too. Don't forget to join the newsletter at observeday.com/join for more observance stories, tips, and updates. Until next time, keep finding meaning in every day.